There is a space you know all too well. It's that charged, unspoken territory between friendship and something more. It's the source of the most profound anxiety for a man, the agony of ambiguity. You're caught between the fear of moving too soon and being seen as inappropriate, and the fear of waiting too long and being permanently filed away as just a friend. This paralysis is where opportunities are lost. But what if I told you that in that fog of uncertainty, a woman who is genuinely considering intimacy with you will almost always send a clear, coded signal? It's not a touch, a look, or a smile. It's a test, disguised as two very specific, very simple questions. And this is where most men get it completely wrong. They're busy looking for a big, obvious green light, a signal that is so explicit it can't be misinterpreted. But that signal almost never comes. Instead, they miss the subtle, sophisticated invitation that was right in front of them. Because these aren't just casual questions, they are carefully selected keys she offers you. If you don't recognize them for what they are, you don't just miss a hint, you fail a critical test. The door of opportunity doesn't just close, it locks, often for good. You're left behind in the dark, wondering what happened, never realizing you were handed the map and simply didn't know how to read it. The purpose of this conversation is to give you that map. By the end of our time together, you will shift from being a passive guesser, paralyzed by doubt, to an active and confident observer. You will learn to hear the real question behind the words she's saying. This isn't about learning a trick or a manipulative line. It is about developing a new level of perception. It's about understanding the hidden language of female desire, a language that communicates interest while simultaneously ensuring emotional and physical safety. You will finally move beyond the agony of ambiguity and begin to operate with a quiet confidence that comes only from true clarity and understanding. But it's crucial you understand this. These two questions are not created equal. The first question is a probe. It's a logistical test to see if the opportunity even exists. Many men hear it, get excited, and immediately fumble the entire interaction because they think the game is won. They couldn't be more wrong. The true signal, the one that confirms she is actively thinking about being with you, is the second question. It's more subtle, more vulnerable, and infinitely more powerful. And that's why you must stay with me, because revealing the second question is only half the battle. How you answer it is everything. And it's the secret I'll be saving for the end. I'm Ph.D. Emma Madison, and for years my work has focused on decoding the intricate patterns of human connection, the unspoken rules, the unconscious tests, and the silent negotiations that define our relationships. What we're discussing today isn't a seduction tactic you'd find in some shallow playbook. We're exploring the psychological architecture of a woman's decision-making process when it comes to intimacy. These questions are not a game she plays to toy with you. They are the essential components of an internal security protocol, a system designed over millennia to filter for safety, viability, and character before she allows herself to be truly vulnerable with a man. Understanding this is your first step toward mastery. This internal protocol is why women so often rely on indirect communication. It's not to be confusing or complicated. It is a deeply ingrained and highly intelligent strategy for navigating risk. A direct invitation from a woman carries an enormous social and emotional risk of rejection. An indirect question, however, provides what we call plausible deniability. It allows her to signal interest in a way that can be easily retracted if you don't respond correctly, protecting her from feeling exposed or rejected. It's a universal human pattern. And speaking of universal patterns, I'd love to feel a bit more connected to you all. Let me know which city or state in the US you're watching from in the comments below. So let's be clear. This is not about finding a magic bullet. This is about learning to see the whole picture. The power of these questions only emerges within a specific context of pre-existing attraction and rapport. Without that, they are just words. But when the air is thick with possibility, when you feel that connection, these questions become your guide. They are the critical checkpoints in a conversation that is happening just beneath the surface. Your job is not to trick her or pass a test with a memorized answer. Your job is to become the man who understands the test so well that he doesn't need to cheat. A man who provides the feeling of safety she is subconsciously looking for. There's a space you know all too well. It's that charged, unspoken territory between friendship and something more. It's the source of the most profound anxiety for a man, the agony of ambiguity. You're caught between the fear of moving too soon and being seen as inappropriate, and the fear of waiting too long and being permanently filed away as just a friend. This paralysis is where opportunities are lost. But what if I told you that in that fog of uncertainty, a woman who is genuinely considering intimacy with you will almost always send a clear, coded signal? It's not a touch, a look, or a smile. It's a test, disguised as two very specific, very simple questions. And this is where most men get it completely wrong. They're busy looking for a big, obvious green light, a signal that is so explicit it can't be misinterpreted. But that signal almost never comes. Instead, they miss the subtle, sophisticated invitation that was right in front of them. The purpose of this conversation is to give you that map. But it's crucial you understand, these two questions are not created equal. The first question is a probe, but the true signal, the one that confirms she is actively thinking about being with you, is the second question. It's more subtle, and how you answer it is everything. That's the secret I'll be saving for the end. So, you think you've understood the assignment. You've noticed her smile, you've felt the energy shift, and now you're waiting for that one clear sign that says, "I want you." But you're looking in all the wrong places. The transformation I am promising you today is a fundamental shift in your perception. You will stop looking for a clumsy, obvious gesture and start listening for a sophisticated, coded invitation. You will learn to decode the subtle conversational keys a woman uses to signal her interest. Keys that are designed to protect her while simultaneously testing you. This is about moving from a state of anxious paralysis, where you're terrified of getting it wrong, to a state of calm, observant confidence, where you finally understand the game being played. This understanding is your new superpower. It is the ability to distinguish between casual friendliness and a genuine, albeit veiled, expression of desire. You will learn why a woman's no can sometimes be a test, why her maybe is a negotiation, and why her most important questions have nothing to do with what she's actually asking. We are going to build your emotional literacy, piece by piece, so that you can navigate these delicate interactions without fear. This is about more than just a single encounter. It's about fundamentally rewiring your ability to connect with women on a deeper, more authentic level. You will not only learn to recognize the invitation, but also become the kind of man to whom that invitation is eagerly extended. I'm Dr. Emma Madison, and for years, my work has focused on decoding the intricate patterns of human connection, the unspoken rules, the unconscious tests, and the silent negotiations that define our relationships. What we're discussing today isn't a seduction tactic you'd find in some shallow playbook. We're exploring the psychological architecture of a woman's decision-making process when it comes to intimacy. These questions are not a game she plays to toy with you. They are the essential components of an internal security protocol, a system designed over millennia to filter for safety, viability, and character before she allows herself to be truly vulnerable with a man. Understanding this is your first step toward mastery. This internal protocol is why women so often rely on indirect communication. It's not to be confusing or complicated, it is a deeply ingrained and highly intelligent strategy for navigating risk. A direct invitation from a woman carries an enormous social and emotional risk of rejection. An indirect question, however, provides what we call plausible deniability. It allows her to signal interest in a way that can be easily retracted if you don't respond correctly, protecting her from feeling exposed or rejected. It's a universal human pattern. And speaking of universal patterns, I'd love to feel a bit more connected to you all. Let me know which city or state in the US you're watching from in the comments below. So let's be clear, this is not about finding a magic bullet. This is about learning to see the whole picture. The power of these questions only emerges within a specific context of pre-existing attraction and rapport. Without that, they are just words. But when the air is thick with possibility, when you feel that connection, these questions become your guide. They are the critical checkpoints in a conversation that is happening just beneath the surface. Your job is not to trick her or pass a test with a memorized answer. Your job is to become the man who understands the test so well that he doesn't need to cheat. a man who provides the feeling of safety she is subconsciously looking for. The first question, the one that opens the door just a crack, is always a test of logistics and availability. It's deceptively simple, often disguised as casual conversation, which is precisely why so many men miss its significance. It sounds like, "So, what are your plans for the rest of the night?" Or, "Are you going to be busy tomorrow?" Or even a more subtle, "Wow, it's getting late. I guess you have to get up early for work tomorrow, huh?" These are not just conversational fillers. They are practical, tactical inquiries. She is taking a preliminary measurement of opportunity. Before her desire can even begin to formulate a plan, her mind needs to know, is there a logistical path forward? Is there time? Is there space for intimacy to occur? This logistical probe is her brain's most basic safety check, the equivalent of a pilot checking the weather before takeoff. She's not yet asking if you're a good pilot, she's asking if the runway is even open. By inquiring about your schedule, your commitments, or your immediate future, she's gathering data without exposing her own intent. If you say, "I have a 6 a.m. meeting with my boss," the conversation can end gracefully with no one feeling rejected. She was just making small talk after all, but if your answer indicates availability, you've just passed the first checkpoint. You've confirmed that the logistical window is open, and this is the moment where a man's response begins to matter immensely. Imagine you're at the end of a great first date. You walk her to her door. The air is thick with unspoken possibility. She turns to you, a slight hesitation in her voice, and asks, "Do you have a long drive home?" A man who doesn't understand the game hears a simple question about geography. He might say, "Not too bad, only about 30 minutes. Well, good night," and walk away, proud of his efficiency, completely oblivious that he just failed a critical test. She wasn't asking about traffic. She was offering you a chance to close the distance. She was asking, "Is the obstacle of time and space between us small enough to overcome right now?" She was testing the waters of your availability. But here is the single most important thing you must understand, and it's a mistake that costs men countless opportunities. Hearing and passing the first test, the logistical question, is not a victory. It's merely the entry ticket. A man who gets excited at this stage, who thinks, "she's in," is like a runner celebrating after the first lap of a marathon. He becomes overeager, clumsy, and often makes a move that is premature and miscalibrated. He fails to see that the first question is just a filter. It weeds out the impossible. It does not, however, confirm the desirable. The real test, the one that separates the potentials from the permanent friends, is still to come, and it is infinitely more nuanced. Now we move from the practical to the profound. The second question is the true signal, the one that confirms she isn't just logistically available, but emotionally and psychologically considering you. This is the question of intention and vulnerability. It's far more subtle and often doesn't even look like a question. It might sound like, "What are you really looking for when you meet someone?" Or a more reflective statement like, "You know, it's been a long time since I've met someone I can actually talk to like this." This isn't small talk. This is an invitation into her inner world. She's momentarily lowering her defenses to see how you handle her vulnerability. When she asks about your intentions or reflects on the rarity of your connection, she is performing the most crucial test of all. She is checking your character. She is asking without asking, "Are you just looking for a physical release, or do you see something more in me? Are you safe? Can I trust you with my body and, more importantly, with the emotional space we are in right now?" This question is a stress test for your integrity, your empathy, and your emotional intelligence. Your response here doesn't just determine if you'll be intimate tonight. It often determines if you will ever have a place of significance in her life at all. This is the moment she decides if you are just another man, or if you are that man. Let's dissect the first variant. What are you looking for? It's a terrifying question for most men because it feels like a trap. If you say, "Oh, just having fun, not looking for anything serious," you risk sounding like a player who will devalue her after the fact. If you say, "I'm looking for a wife," you risk sounding desperate and putting an immense unwanted pressure on the interaction. She isn't asking for your 5-year plan. She is testing your present moment awareness and your ability to articulate a desire that is both honest and respectful. She's giving you an opportunity to prove that you are not just a creature of impulse, but a man of intention. Answering this question incorrectly is disastrous. The common mistake is to give a generic, non-committal answer like, "I'm just going with the flow," which translates to, "I have no intentions and I'll take what I can get." This is a massive failure of leadership. Or, as mentioned, you might overcommit and scare her off. She's not asking you to sign a contract. She's asking for a glimpse into your character. She wants to see if you value connection, if you are capable of appreciating the moment for what it is, without either devaluing it into a purely physical act or inflating it into a premature lifetime commitment. It's a test of calibration. The second variant is even more subtle and therefore more powerful. It's when she makes a statement of vulnerability such as, "I can't believe how easy it is to talk to you," or, "It's so rare to find someone who actually listens." Notice the pattern. She is verbally elevating the quality of your connection above the norm. This is not a compliment. It's a question disguised as a compliment. The hidden question is, do you feel this too? And if you do you understand its value? She is placing a fragile, valuable thing, the uniqueness of your current interaction, on the table and watching to see if you'll protect it or crush it. It's crucial to understand that these questions are not standalone events. They are the flowering of a plant whose seeds were sown long before. They only appear when a baseline of attraction and comfort has already been firmly established. If there's no rapport, these are just empty words. But when the soil of the interaction is fertile with mutual interest, laughter, and a palpable connection, these questions are the undeniable signal that she is considering taking the final step. The context is everything. The mistake is to see the question as the start of the process, when in reality it is the confirmation that the process is nearing its natural conclusion. But there is a danger signal you must learn to recognize, a pattern that communicates a definitive lack of interest. This occurs when she asks the first question, the logistical one, but the second question never arrives. For example, she asks about your plans for tomorrow, you say you're free, and then she immediately changes the subject to something impersonal. This is a critical moment of data collection. It often means she was performing a social courtesy, or perhaps she briefly considered the possibility and then, for reasons of her own, decided against it. The absence of the second question, the vulnerability probe, is your cue that the door is, for now, closed. Ultimately, your reaction to her calculated moment of vulnerability is the final piece of the puzzle. When she asks one of these questions of intention, she is watching you with the focus of a hawk. Does your body language change? Do you get nervous and look away? Do you get overly excited and lean in too aggressively? Or do you remain calm, hold her gaze, and respond with warmth and confidence? She is testing your composure under the gentle pressure of her emotional offering. Your ability to receive her vulnerability without flinching, without grabbing at it greedily, is perhaps the most attractive quality you can display at this critical juncture. So you see, the journey is a clear and logical progression, moving from the external world to the internal one. It starts with a simple, practical assessment of logistics. Is this even possible? This is the gateway. But once you pass through it, the landscape changes entirely. You are no longer in the realm of schedules and locations. You are in the realm of character, intention, and emotional safety. You've moved from her calendar to her soul. Recognizing this transition and navigating it with grace and understanding is the true key. It's the difference between standing outside her door all night and finally confidently being invited inside. Let's bring this into focus with a scenario you've likely lived through. Imagine you're at a quiet bar with her, the conversation is flowing, and you both know the night is ending. She looks at her watch, then looks at you and asks, "So, do you have a big day at work tomorrow?" A man's brain, wired for problem-solving and literal interpretation, hears a logistical question. He thinks, "She's being considerate of my schedule," so he gives a logical answer. "Yeah, I have an 8 a.m. meeting, so I should probably get going soon." He thinks he's being responsible, but he just failed the test. Her question wasn't about your schedule, it was an invitation for you to declare your intention. She was offering you a chance to say, "Nothing that can't be moved," or I'm more interested in where tonight goes. It's a subtle but crucial difference. Now let's look at the second question in action. You've been texting late into the night. The logistical window is wide open. You both know you're at home, alone. Then she sends it. I'm not going to lie, it's been a really long time since I've met someone I feel this comfortable with. A man's instinct might be to get excited and escalate quickly, replying with something like, I feel it too, you're amazing. Which, while nice, puts all the pressure back on her. Or worse, he tries to be cool and downplays it. But the high-value response is one of calibrated empathy. Something like, comfortable is a good word for it. It feels easy. And I don't take that for granted. This response validates her feeling, mirrors her vulnerability without overwhelming her, and communicates that you understand the significance of the moment. You're not just agreeing, you're co-signing the emotional contract. The psychological reason men so often miss these cues is because they are listening for a proposition, while she is creating a proposition. You are looking for a clear, verbal yes to a question you haven't even asked yet. She, on the other hand, is building the emotional and logistical bridge for that yes to become possible. It's like watching a builder lay down a foundation. The logistical question is her checking the ground to see if it's stable. The vulnerability question is her asking if you're willing to help her build the house. If you're busy staring at the sky looking for a sign, you'll completely miss the fact that she handed you the blueprints and a hammer and is waiting to see if you know what to do with them. But here we must pause, because this is the critical juncture where the eager mind can so easily fall into a trap of its own making. You must understand that these questions are not magical incantations that work in a vacuum. A woman asking about your weekend plans could, in fact, just be making polite conversation. The gravest error a man can make is to take the signal and divorce it from its context. Are you in the midst of a deep, connected conversation? Has there been sustained eye contact, shared laughter, a sense of palpable rapport? These are the soil in which the seeds of these questions can grow. Without that fertile ground, a logistical question is just a logistical question. It is conversational noise. Your own hope is a powerful filter. Do not let it convince you there's a secret message in a sea of static. This leads to the second crucial warning. You must learn to distinguish between genuine signals and your own wishful thinking. The man who is desperate for connection will start to see these patterns everywhere, interpreting every casual inquiry as a veiled invitation. This is the path to miscalibration, awkwardness, and ultimately, rejection. Conversely, the man who is terrified of rejection will dismiss even the most genuine signals as politeness, retreating into his shell at the first sign of ambiguity. The true skill is to observe these moments with a calm, detached curiosity. Your goal is not to hunt for a yes. Your goal is to achieve clarity. Sometimes a question is a test, and sometimes it's just a question. The emotionally mature man understands the difference and does not force a narrative where one doesn't exist. And this brings us to the final, most crucial layer of understanding, the revelation that separates mere observation from true mastery. The two questions are not separate events. They are a single, coordinated mechanism, a two-part authentication protocol for desire. The first question, the logistical probe, is the lock. It's a binary check. Is the door even accessible? But the second question, the probe of vulnerability and intention, is the key. The true, undeniable signal of her desire is not the lock, and it is not the key. It is the sound of the key turning in the lock. It is the sequence itself. A woman who only asks the first question is just checking a door. A woman who asks the second question after you've confirmed the first is unlocked is consciously, deliberately inviting you to step inside. So now you see it. The pattern that was once invisible is now clear. You've been given the key to decode the subtle language of desire, to distinguish the casual from the critical, and to move from a place of anxious guessing to one of quiet, observant confidence. But recognizing the question is only the first half of the victory. Answering it correctly is what turns a moment of connection into a lifetime of memory. How you respond to her vulnerability is the final, most crucial test of your character. And that is why your journey is not over. In the video on your screen right now, we will move beyond recognition and into action. We will dissect the exact words and attitudes that transform her question into an unforgettable experience. Click on it now and let's learn not just to hear the invitation, but to become the man who is worthy of it.